This poster just goes through some of the grammar concepts that you might come across in the German classroom from listening to a German teacher or German instructor. These concepts are not alien to you. They appear in the linguistic structure of your native language, for example, English. It's just you may or may not be aware of them consciously. So when learning a second language or an additional language, it's useful to know the building blocks or the mechanics of the language going forward. So let's start with each concept. The first one is das Geschlecht, which is the gender of a word in German. So we have der, die, and das, masculine, feminine, and neuter. Der words would be written with an M above them in a dictionary, or on the whiteboard. D would have F beside them in a dictionary, or on the blackboard or whiteboard or interactive whiteboard, and das would have NT to signify neuter. Now it's important to note that the gender German words have nothing got to do with the traditional understanding of gender, as in der for only masculine words and die for only feminine words. For example, the girl in German is das Mädchen, which is a neuter word. The second one, we're looking at the top segment of the poster. The second one is das Substantiv, which is the noun in German. Now, I have the example of der Mann. I have the M enclosed in a red box because all German nouns have capital letters. So you make sure you have that capital letter, or else it's a grammar mistake. Underneath that is das Fragewort. So it's the interrogative. Interrogatives basically are question words. So wer, was, wann. Who, what, when. Wo, wo could be who. Okay, so let's go over to the next section of the top part of the poster. So das Fürwort, or most commonly known as das Pronomen, it's ich, du, er, sie. So I, you, he, she. So the various forms of the verb as it is conjugated. And if you jump quickly to the very bottom poster, you have the verb konjugieren, to conjugate. So in the German class, your teacher or instructor will be using German appropriate to your level to try and coach you and speak as much German as possible by introducing some of these words along with daily language, and hopefully you will respond in German to whoever's teaching you. So the next one at the top of the poster is das Verb. Das Verb is an action word in German and in English and in any other language. I've put a box around en, so all verbs in German end in en. So using das Fürwort, you have ich spiele, du spielst, er, sie spielt, so it's conjugated into the various persons. If you're using spielen, for example, with werden, or using it as a secondary verb, the en stays on, but don't concentrate on that now. You will come across that as you are instructed. The next one is das Adverb. Now, adverb, as it signifies with the ad before the verb, it complements the verb. It adds extra data or extra understanding to the action word verb. So I have an example of heute, bald, oft. So ich lese heute, ich lese bald, ich lese oft. I read today, I read soon, I read often. So it kind of like provides extra information to explain the verb, and to more so explain the pronoun of the person doing the verb. So let's go now, since we've explained the first half of the Grammatik, grammar. So we're going to focus on the second half of the poster, and we'll go to das Reflexive Verb. So reflexive verbs. So reflexive verbs are, if you think about looking in a mirror, you will see yourself doing an action. So if you're brushing your teeth, if you're washing yourself, if you're combing your hair, reflexive verbs basically are actions done unto yourself. So if you look at ich wasche mich, I'm washing myself. So so you say, ich wasche das Auto, I'm washing the car. So you're washing something else. But in this case, ich wasche mich, it's something you do to yourself. Okay, ich wasche mich. Under that is an adjective. Now, adjectives are kind of like just explain more so a noun or quality state of being. So I have an example of neu, alt, schön. So new, old, and beautiful or lovely. Okay? So underneath that then, where you have the number 2 is comparative, a comparative. So you're comparing one thing versus another. And number 3, superlative. That'll be the biggest box, the fastest car, the best person. So if you look at the example underneath for 1, 2, 3, you'll have neu, neuer, and neuesten. So that's new, newer, and the newest. So again, I've put in a red box. The ending you put on neu to make it a comparison. So neu, neuer, alt, alter, schon, schöner. And then am, neuesten, am, alsten, am, schönsten. If you want to make it like the oldest and the prettiest. The final box is the Prepositionen. So they're prepositions. So in the English language, they would be like on, over, under, along, across. So we have in German a lot of them which complement English, which I won't get into now, but the examples here: an, in, über, aus. So on, in, over or across, and out of. Underneath that then you have die Konjugation. So you have und, aber, und den. So for example, conjunctions are linking words which link 2 sentences together. I'm walking to this shop and I am buying a piece of paper. I likes playing sport because it is good for your health. So I have und, aber, den. So und is and, aber, but, and then because. Note that when you're writing the word den in a sentence, if you know it so far, you always have to have a comma before den, because that is a grammatical error if you admit it. When you get on to more advanced German, you'll be doing das Relativpronomen, which are like who, which, whom, or that, and there's various declensions or changes depending on the case that it goes into German. So again, don't focus too heavily on that one. Again, from other videos that I've done, and depending on where you are in your German studies, you will have done die Fälle, which are the nominative, accusative, dative case. But again, don't focus too much on all of the words. You just need to be able to recognize them, depending if the teacher uses these words in class to try and prompt you speaking German and to be comfortable again with the German language. It is also important to know what these concepts are, not only in German but also in your native language, because when you're studying a foreign language, you need to be aware of the linguistic and semantic structure, which are the building blocks of the language. Once you have that learned, and once you know that, it makes it a lot more easier to create your own variation of languages. Instead of learning off what you have been told by the teacher, that you can create your own meaningful sentences and speak freely, which is the goal of any foreign language learning.